We all know the importance of location and land content with our residential property investment decisions. But what about the floor plan? Now, this is one of the areas that we feel is really underrated when investors are considering which property to purchase. It's very different when you go in with an owner-occupier lens because you're looking at it through its livability and its functionality. But from an investment point of view, sometimes we can get bogged down in the postcode or the quality of the school catchment, all those key things that are really important. But one of the key areas we see property managers tell us it's going to get less rent, and also where we then try and sell to an owner-occupier, because they're the ones that drive up values, they tend to have an aversion to wanting to buy the property. We also see more of these properties get marketed off-market, which means they don't have the competition to take it to auction. Now, the one on the left is a perfect example of this. Now, this particular property would sell really well in a booming market when people are scrambling over each other to get into that suburb. As you can see, it's got a fantastic outdoor entertaining area, but this area doesn't flow onto the living space, which is actually boxed into the middle of the dwelling. You've got the living space at the front of the house, which is nowhere near as aesthetically pleasing as having it as the back of the house, or private, or quiet. And you've also got very small bedrooms, so it's a very roomed house, this one. There is already an extension, which means there isn't a lot of areas you can add value to it. And with the extension, it's a little bit obscure, where it's got the master bedroom and ensuite, and also a little retreat at the front, which won't bode really well for young families that want to be a lot closer to their kids. Now, the property on the right is a little bit different. It's an older property. It's got bigger rooms. It hasn't had its renovation recently. It was actually quite some time ago. And the renovation's at the back of the property here, which is the bathroom, laundry and storage area, which can easily be knocked down and revert back to the original house and look at a second story at some point when feasible. But this particular property's got massive bedrooms, big bedrooms, street facing, and you can also see that the living space, although quite small, it works well and flows on from the kitchen. Now, this just works for a wider market, which means more demand. And what we start to see in environments like this, where stock levels are low, is these types of properties on the right rarely hit the market and still get quite a lot of competition. Whereas these ones on the left, which are a little bit more obscure, their market's reduced even more so. So in a booming market, both of these properties might fetch pretty similar prices. It's almost that all properties are considered to be equal around these times. But when the market drops back and things are a little bit softer and weaker, we find there's a lot less interest in properties like this, and there's a lot more interest in properties like this. So consider the floor plate next time you look for your investments. I know from an owner-occupier point of view, it's always very high on the agenda, but from an investor perspective, sometimes it can fall by the wayside.